On the Erlang channel today, I'd like to talk about what is the Cap Theorem and why it's important when building systems in Erlang and Elixir. I'm Zach Kesson, and if you need help getting your team up to Erlang and Elixir, please give me a shout on Twitter or via the Calendly link below. So the Cap Theorem, otherwise known as Brewer's Theorem, is a concept that in a distributed database or distributed system that's holding information, you have three properties: consistency, availability, and partition tolerance. And that at any given time, a system can only have demonstrate two of those properties. To have all three would actually violate the laws of physics. So first of all, we should define what we mean by consistency, availability, and partition tolerance. So availability means the ability of the system to accept writes. Availability is the idea that a system can always accept writes. We can always write to the system, we can always read from the system, we can always get information back, and it will always work. That is an available system. A node fails, or something says, if we have to say, okay, you can't write now, it's not available. A consistent system is one where every reader always gets the same view of the data. We can never have two people saying how many items are in it, how many pencils are in inventory. User 1 says 5, user 2 says 10. That's not a consistent system. We have inconsistencies in the system. And a partition tolerant system is one where you have multiple nodes, and if for some reason they can't talk to each other, for example, a network switch failed, or maybe there's just bad latency on the network, which isn't actually a partition, but it's an effective one, or what have you, that the system will still work. Think of it this way. Let's say you have a bunch of people, get away from computers, and they're a bunch of high school students, and they're discussing who got into which university. That was my high school, the big topic. It seems a long time ago. And let's say some of those students in the years before cell phones go on a school trip, so they're off campus. While they're off campus, somebody gets into Harvard. And this is new information. So if you ask the people who are on campus, where is John going? Where has John gotten into university? They say, oh, he got into Harvard. If you ask the people off campus, there's a partition, they can't talk to each other. They don't know yet, so there's an inconsistency in information. Now this is a very hand-wavy kind of explanation of it. This is actually if you're into things formal, you can go find papers on the internet. They're actually formal mathematical proofs of all this. I'm not going to bore you with that. You can go look it up go look on Wikipedia. You'll find the links. Basically, you can have a system that says either we're consistent, everybody has to know the same information, but then if there's a partition, you have the problem of, well, what do? Well, you have to stop taking in new information or something. What if there's a partial partition? It all gets very complicated very quickly. Now this applies to any distributed system. So if you have everything is on one machine, it's pretty straightforward. But as soon as you start moving things onto multiple machines, and there's a definite time between the information you get from machine A to machine B, because the speed of light, it's still a thing, then you have this problem. It's something you can't get around it, you have to live with it. It's fundamental laws of how things work. But as you're designing, you have to sort of keep in mind of, well, what happens if the network partitions? So that is what is the Cap Theorem, and I hope you found this video useful and enjoyable. If you did, please subscribe and like below. And I love hearing from you, and if you'd like help getting your team up to speed with Erlang and Elixir and distributed systems, give me a shout. I do training courses.